Hello from Chickenwood. This is Lori, coming back to you after a year hiatus from podcasting. It's been quite a year, huh? And a lot to share. Both a lot going on in the world and at home. And so here we are in this beautiful winter. Winter has been awesome this year. I'm really happy for us winter lovers. It's snowing right now, as you can probably see if I hold the camera still. So nice. So I'm home today. I have gathered up many things to share with you about knitting and a little bit of spinning and weaving and, well, the whole 9 yards. We'll see how long I can last describing things. But I just wanted to just get something out and say I'm still here and missing all of you, hoping you're well, and looking forward to just catching up. So let's go back in and get warm. Crunch, crunch through the red door. Good old straight black coffee. Not tea today, coffee. I will probably just kind of go through my live whips today, some FOs and things that one really exciting big one, and well, actually they're all exciting because they're FOs, finished objects, because I've amassed quite a pile of works in progress over the years. And one of these dates back to 2013, so it's never too late to finish a project that's been sitting in your closet or your basket for however long. Doesn't matter. And this type of project does need to be put aside every now and then, I feel, but we'll get more about that when I get to it. So the last time I podcasted was, I think, February, and I was preparing to go on a wonderful trip to Norway, which I thankfully did. And I then recorded fairly soon after a portion to post, but I never did. I think it's because I wasn't looking in the right place. It bugged me. I was looking off to the side for some reason. Hopefully I'm looking at the right place today, so I'm looking at you. Anyway, the trip was fabulous, and there was no doubt that I'm thankful that I was able to go, especially the timing that it was, as we returned March 5th, and pretty much here and in Norway plunged right into lockdown and quarantining and all that. And here we are a year later. It's amazing, isn't it? Oh, wow. So that trip seems like such a gift. So close to that time of everything stopping. So I shared a lot about that in the section that I probably will put at the end of this today. So if you're interested in hearing about that, you can stay on and watch further, come back to it another time. But rather than inserting it in between things, I think I'll just leave it there. And it's rather unfinished as well, because I was going to post a bunch of photos and that kind of thing, which I did not do. So anyway, suffice it to say, it was beyond our hopes and dreams, and I keep looking out the snow today. It's snowing so nicely. Anyway, it was wonderful, and I certainly hope to return to Norway someday. It was especially wonderful that it was winter time, and the amazing thing was it had not been very wintry in Norway last year until right before we got there. We're thankful for that too. So so there was Norway, and I came home quarantining of my own will for a while, because I came through New Jersey and New York City and Penn Station and the trains, etc. That was exciting. And so my mom had been, well, not ill, but she had fallen and broken her hip in December. So she was home and recovering and recuperating when I left for Norway, and then I was home for a couple of weeks quarantining. And soon after I was able to see her, she started having health problems and, a stroke and back in the hospital. And over the course of the year, up until November, it was on and off health issues for my mom. And so it was a time of spending time with her and helping in ways that, helping with my siblings, which most of us live locally. We were able to be involved because all of this was also happening during pandemic. So my mother was stuck home. And thankfully, it wasn't too bad, her stroke, and she was able to function afterward. But gradually over the next months, different things happened, and it just took its toll eventually, so we lost her in the end of November. So thankfully, in a way, although not good for her, because she suffered many, what do I want to say, not ailments, but ailments, but in a worse way, discomfort and things that just made everyday life so hard. But it also required us to be closer with her. And because of the pandemic, we were more involved than we ever would have been because she had been really healthy and independent right up until she broke her hip. So it was a mixed thing, as the pandemic has been in many people's lives. There are definitely ways to find the silver linings of things that happened because of it. So in this case, we spent more time with our mother than we probably would have otherwise, and so that was a blessing in a way, but very hard to believe that that it came to the end that it did, because she was so vibrant and so always so full of energy and full of life, and so it's been a really tough adjustment. So that was really mostly why I didn't get back. I just couldn't, even between the pandemic and the world and everything else going on and that. So, but other things happened within our year that were fun and exciting. Our son, got married on April 4th from the rooftop of his New York City apartment. He was scheduled. They had planned to have their big wedding on May 1st, I think, and that had to have been postponed, and they had already gotten their marriage license, and they just decided, well, let's follow through with our life plans, and maybe we'll have the party later. So the party will be later and later and later, and now hopefully will be October 7th. But that was dramatic and exciting, kind of odd, because we watched through Zoom from home. Our other kids did drive down against our fears, but they just did everything necessary to be safe and just went up to the wedding and came home. It was really sweet. And I guess I'll begin with the things that I finished during this past year, which aren't too many, actually. But all of them are pretty long-term things, and the first ones are buried under this pile. So I had probably 4 sock projects begun, sitting in bags, started and stopped. Probably a couple of them had 1 sock finished, and so I guess they were second sock syndrome. One of those is still in the bag, still being worked on, but I have picked it up. The other of those was this pair. And these have a lace pattern that I just designed. I didn't design it, but I just did it. It's just a little kind of a chevron-ish, kind of chevron lace. And these were probably done, I'm thinking these were done toe up. Yeah, they were done toe up. As you see that the heel panel is on the bottom and the sides are, and then it's just sort of like doing a heel in the opposite direction. And I like that. I like doing toe up because I can get full use of the yarn. And this yarn is by Sherry Iris. She's in the UK. And I love, love, love her hand dyeing. Whenever her photos come up on Instagram, I don't even have to see the name. I know they're hers. I know her style, and it's just rings my bell. And I cannot remember the colorway, the name of this colorway. I've texted her to see if she could tell me. I don't think I've heard back from her yet. How could I forget? It's just lovely. So that was the first one, and that is my own stitch pattern, which probably is in some book somewhere, but I don't know. I didn't use it. This is one that I first heard about a year ago in Norway when Marianne, who designed them, was on the trip. I got to meet her. She's so lovely. And this was her new pattern, and it's called Wild Angelica. And she talks about the plant Wild Angelica in her pattern. And it was a lovely pattern to knit. It really was. And I actually didn't use the yarn recommended. I didn't really use sock yarn. I used, this is Norwegian Rauma 3-ply Gamel 3, I believe. And it's in the really a piney green. I'm not sure the color's coming through quite as green. It just looks black. Well, it's more green than that. And so it makes them a little heavier than your typical sock weight. But I can still wear my boots when I wear these comfortably. And they are so toasty warm and soft and really comfy and a comfort. And look at the heel on this pattern. Isn't that the coolest? She does her heel gusset. There's creases down there. Well, there's a turning of the heel, but then, you know, normally we have our side gussets happening here, but she does it down here at the bottom of the heel. Very cool. Very cool. I have another one of Marianne's patterns for a neck warmer, which I've begun, which will show up in the whips section. And okay, so that's that one. This one I've talked about for, I don't know, this is like within the year. I started spinning for these probably in the pandemic because pretty much I kind of like sort of got in touch with my stash last spring because of being home a lot and had that opportunity to dig deeper, find out what actually do I have in terms of fleeces and wool and what do I have that needs to be processed. And I have had this fiber for quite some time. It's Nash Island lamb, and I did a bunch of photos on Insta about processing it. I combed it with these mini combs. Really enjoyed that. I took it up to Maine and sat outside and did a lot of combing and spinning out there. These are Louette mini combs, perfect for this about 3-inch fiber. 3-inch. And spun that and plied it and did these socks, which were actually, I didn't look up the pattern, but if you look on Instagram from last summer, they would be there. It's a woman who was in Spin-Off magazine many years ago, and she had called these Wild Maine Eyelet socks or something, Wild Maine, something to that effect. She had also used Island yarn from Maine that she processed herself. And this is a cool little eyelet pattern. It's a mock cable, so it's quicker, it's quick and easy, and these are the most cozy socks as well. They're a little heavier than even though I thought I was spinning really, really fine. They're heavy-ish, but not as heavy as the Norwegian ones. So they're already a little icky because I've been wearing them, so sorry about that. But they were a success. That's the point. So those are those 3 finished socks, and the only other finished thing I have to share is the big one. And I've talked about this ever since I started making podcast episodes. So you're probably sick of it, but you probably know what it is. The Gansey. The Gansey is done. And it came out quite well. It blocked out beautifully. But the proportions and the size make it a little bit tough for me to be comfortable wearing it. The sleeves are quite wide. That could be partly from the way I blocked it. I did try to block it out loose, so I might wash it again and let the sleeves not block out so much. This is an all-over pattern that, a lot of Ganzis will stop the pattern at the chest and then have all the stockinette all the way down, which if I do another one, I will do that because that's why it took forever. But I just sort of wanted that look. So, live and learn. I would also next time do some neck shaping because it just comes up so high. It's certainly wide enough, but it just comes up so high, scratches my neck and that kind of thing. But this was the yarn, Frangipani, out of the UK, Cornwall, and it's in the pistachio colorway. So I'm like, my eyes are full of pistachio. It's beautiful, but I need to take a little breather. Although, if I wore it, it's a great color. It's one of my favorite colors. It's in almost everything I have. And anyway, but it might be a gift to my daughter. If it fits her nicely, I would love for her to have it. I'm not going to start another one right away. A lot of people will already be planning their second one before their first one is done. And I have to give credit to the Cordova Ganzi Project in helping me get this done. I came across them, I don't know, just somehow online and randomly or through Facebook or through looking up a video by a certain person, and they had posted something that kind of rings a bell. Anyway, and it turns out serendipitously that Dottie Widman from the Knit Loft, which is a shop and yarn shop in Cordova, Alaska, had been to Shetland Wool Week in 2014, the same year that I first went to Shetland Wool Week. And that year, one of their featured designs and themes was Ganzis. And they had this collection of Ganzis on the walls all through the museum, and little photos and little boards of references and explanations. And they were from the Moray Firth Ganzi project, which was from Scotland, which I purchased about that time, and so did Dottie. And Dottie went back to Cordova, Alaska, so inspired to, carry on this fisherman's sweater tradition in her fishing town, because Dottie and her family have been fishing in Alaska for generations, decades. And she had this dream to have those sweaters be on modern day fishermen, and also help and guide and inspire local knitters to make those sweaters again. So I think it was a couple years before she got her project going, and that was, I think, 2016 or so, maybe more. And she had a big event. She had people coming, and she had a lot of involvement with Beth Brown Reinsel, who has the Ganzi book. And so all of this, again, thanks to the pandemic, they had regular meetings for the local knitters, but they could not have their meetings anymore, so they put them out over Zoom. And that's where I found somewhere that this Zoom Ganzi meeting group was open to the world. So I went and visited, and I was so inspired to see and hear from Ganzi knitters all over, and see what they were making, hear about their process, and see all the ways that Dottie had to share and show and inspire and teach about how to make them personalized, how to design even your own motifs to put in them so that they're almost like a story, where mine was just a pattern that I chose that I thought would be fairly simple to do, and I wanted the vertical lines. And so it was more of a, I don't know, not as personal of a process. So anyway, if you were at all interested, I highly recommend you to look up the Knit Loft and find out about the Gansey meetings, or they meet on Thursdays, a couple times on Thursdays, noon in Alaska and 7 p.m. in Alaska. So I do the noon Zoom, which for me is 4 o'clock p.m., and it's been wonderful. So that's how that Gansey got finished. And I had referred to the journaling previously out on the porch, and that is also thanks to Dottie and the Net Loft, because Dottie is a field journalist as well as an amazing knitter and teacher and shop owner and person. And so she had shared a lot of her journaling over Instagram, and she decided to open up a group similar to the Gansey group to share about field journaling and the process of journaling and the process of, through watercolors, of not just about watercolor painting, but using watercolors through sketches and writings and, documenting your days in this different way, which sometimes you may not want to use words. You may just want to use colors or sketches and or whatever have you. And that has been fabulous. It's something I've never, ever done before in life. No painting or drawing or anything. So we meet once a week on Mondays through the Netloft Zoom. And that's really made, a beautiful, fun little corner of life during this hard time this past year. So thankful for that, and hats off to Dottie Woodman and the Net Loft. So I do have a bazillion projects on. I was trying to finish off the whips that I had, but I couldn't help this winter casting on a few new things because it's like finally got my mojo back. I was only knitting on a couple things for the longest time and not spinning and not doing anything. I was weaving though. I did somehow, the weaving helped me through the past few months. And let's talk about that later. Maybe take you up to see Bertha, see the rugs on her loom, on her, what do you call it? Not the warp beam, but the cloth beam. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just start with what's in front of me. This is one of my projects that I thought I would do before I went to Norway. Ordered the kit, and because I was going to be going to Trondheim, Norway, so I wanted to have my Trondheim mittens done. Well, I didn't even come close because I found out there are 3 colors in the cuffs. It was quite a challenge for me because you have to not only use 3 colors, you have to twist and tuck the yarn, the floats behind. So it's a bit of a mess in there, but whatevs. But I did get the first one done, and once I got into the hand, it was a lovely, fun project. This isn't blocked yet, and if you follow Sophia Kemaborn, and any of us who went to Norway, a lot of us made these. They're all over. So this is my first one. It's a little snug. I'm hoping that I can block it a little longer. I think it'll work. I think it'll stretch out a little bit. It's a lovely mitten. Really, this part I really enjoyed knitting a lot. So I'm halfway through the second cuff, and this is the two-ply Ganelsry from Rama. A lot of color work going on in my world this past year or so. Here's another one. This is another color work hat designed by Jeanette Budge from Shetland, who's a lovely friend. Jeanette was my roomie on the Norway trip. I met her at Edinburgh like a couple of years before because I was wearing a Shetland sweater, Shetland jumper, and we chatted, and she's from Shetland, and it all went from there. It was super. So Jeanette designed this hat for her group called the Shetland Pyrimakers. Mac in Shetland is a Shetland dialect for knitting, Peary is small. Uh, so Jeanette and a bunch of other knitters volunteer to help teach children in the schools the knitting that used to be part of the curriculum, but up till, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And then it stopped. And so are gathering together to reinforce, relearn, reteach people, knitters in Shetland, children, and sometimes their moms come and brush up on their skills because they were taught years ago. So they have several groups all over Shetland. And Jeanette designed this Peary Macker's hat for, I think, maybe fundraising for them because they need funds to provide wool and needles and knitting belts if the kids want them. So this one of them has the word Peary Macker's across it. But this one is just a Shetland design. It's funny, I only save made paper. I never print the covers, so I can't really show you the photo of the finished project, but I can show you the beginning of the hat. And these are mostly Jameson and Smith or Jameson's of Shetland Spindrift. They're interchangeable. So I love these burgundy and greens and whites. And actually, I've already almost knit the whole thing, but it was too small. So I looked back and I realized I had rushed ahead. I totally missed the increase row. I totally missed switching up to a larger needle from the band. I don't know that was in the pattern, but I mean, I like to do that generally. Anyway, I get to knit it the second time. It's lovely. It's fun. And I'll show that to you again when it's done one of these days. Here's another hat, also designed by Jeanette Budge. I'm really on a Jeanette Budge thing here. Jeanette has begun, she's done some other designs, and she started a little shop where you can buy needles and knitting belts and I think some yarn from Shetland. And I think she's going to be starting some online classes this spring. So follow Jeanette Budge. I'll put her in along the bottom here for her Instagram. This hat is her latest one, and it's called the Bittersea hat. And Bittersea is another Shetland word. She calls it the Bittersea beanie. And it's Bittersea in Shetland is a very cold day. So this is perfect for today. And it's almost done. All I have to do is the crown. And this is my version. And what I'm using is, does it look familiar? Leftovers from this wonderful Anji. This is in Tinda from Norway. Tinda from the Hilsvåg mill. Pelsulgarn. This is lamb's wool, and it is so soft and light. And it's DK weight. And so you have a fold-up hat band. And in here, you have double layers all the way because of your color work, but also you have using 2 strands in these sections too, so that it's double all the way to the top of the hat, which is going to be so snuggly. So I look forward to wearing this tomorrow. I'm going to try and finish this today, tonight, whatever. So there's the pattern and there's the yarn. And I think it's a size 4 needle for me. Oh no, this is another Norway project. This is from Laba Garn, Sandnes Garn. That's one of the commercial Norwegian yarn makers. And one of the traditional Norwegian socks is the rag sock. And so we got some of this lovely yarn from Patricia, our host in Norway. And it's been so nice to just do this very simple but traditional project. And it is, I just can't wait to wear them. This is it's like substantial, but it's not too thick. I would guess that it's DK weight. Just a regular old 2x2 rib, standard heel turn. And then, so that's just a simple pleasure, that one. Okay, moving along. This is another whip that I just started in my recent castitis. And also, it's another pattern by Marianne, who is, I should say, running yarn on Instagram. And this is one of her howls. It's the Dark Sky Neck Warmer. And I'm doing that in another set of leftover yarns. This is a Rowan felted tweed, which I did for my sea change sweater, which I have worn like a uniform this winter, till I finally got this one going again, and I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. So it's this pretty blue and brown, tweedy blue and brown. I really need to get this done so I can use it this winter. Not much else to say except that it's a lovely two-color snowflake kind of thing. What's really cool is how it does change. Oops. From if the background and the pattern color change, they flip to the other side of the cowl. Oh, the fibers in my nose. So that's kind of fascinating. This is a bag from Shetland, in Shetland, also Shetland tweed, made by a woman who I met at the Maker's Market there, Silver Eye Crafts. She had these gorgeous tweedy bags at the Maker's Market, and I just had to bring one home. And I just love that it's another part of the Shetland, productions there. There's weaving in Shetland, and it's a little different than Harris tweed. It's a little softer. I guess it's still, this is a twill, but look at the beautiful tweedy yarns, heathery yarns actually. Anyway, it's one of my faves. Here's another story, another Norwegian thing. I'm really on a Norwegian kick these days, huh? This story began years ago when I first met Patricia Fortune, Knitography on Instagram, and we met through podcasting, and I've told you about her many times before. She ended up coming here, staying here, went to Rhinebeck, then we went to Edinburgh on her recommendations and encouragement. Then finally this trip to Norway, which she totally created from the ground up and did a fabulous, amazing job hosting it. And I think I will talk more about that in, like I said, in the part that I post at the end of this. But she brought me some of this spinning fiber from the sheep of her breed, the Gratrondersau, which I've mentioned a lot. And I've probably shown you this project before, I don't know, but it's really coming along. It's been a real comfort knit for me through this last season because it's so soft. I mean, first of all, spinning it was beyond wonderful. Spinning it was, it just spun itself. And then this is her Sunshine on the Path hap. She's designed a series of haps. And I don't know, there, if I hold it up in front of the door, the window, you can see it is a garter stitch lace, and it's this end of it. Oops, where'd we go? There we go. It's not a triangle. I guess we'll see how the other, I think it kind of like a rectangle in the middle and then these triangles at each end. And it's going to be so cozy. And it's so soft. And I'm just going to love wrapping up in it everywhere. I love taking it out to knit on it because it keeps my lap warm. Honestly, it's just been, I'm going to miss it when it's done. I have to admit, I can't say that I miss knitting on my Gansey, but I will miss knitting on this. Just the tactile, the feel of this fiber is special. So, her Picnic on the Path, Sunshine on the Path. Let's see if I can, I don't think I have a photo of that one. But you can look it up and I'll link to it at the bottom. And look what I found in the bottom of this bag. I found another sock finished object. Things get stashed in the funniest places. Okay, let me put this one in. Another finished object sock project. That's why I wondered where they were, because I wanted to wear them. This was yarn that I received in a swap with Mina of Mina Knits. I think that's her name. I haven't seen her podcasts in a long time. But we had a swap, and she sent me this beautiful hand-dyed yarn from someone in the Netherlands, And I told her that I loved natural colors, the colors of the woods and the forests and the seas, in the ocean, and boy, she hit it right. And this is a 3-in-1 rib, very simple. I'm pretty sure this was cuffed down, standard heel flap with the special heel panel and a standard toe. So it was really exciting to get all these socks finished and actually in use, not just sitting in bags. Two more. Well, this one is close to being done. It's at the point of knitting on the lace edge, which is what has slowed me down. But this is Sophia Camaborn's Skimning Shawl. And you've probably seen a lot of them out and about. This beautiful garter triangular shawl with a little lace edge, 2 colors yarn. This is a hand-dyed sock yarn. The gray is Tuku from Finland. And I think also my colorway, I have a new coat this year that's gray. This will be lovely to wear with that. So I'm almost done with the first section, and soon then I'll get the second. So I need to keep this out and about so that it catches my eye, and I'm just aware of it. Because I'm really spread too thin, totally. And finally, color work again. And you've seen this before if you've watched my other ones. If not, it is a project that I picked up in Shetland when we went in 2019, my husband and I. And it is an Isolde pattern, the Cruden vest, in yarn from Jameson of Shetland Spindrift. And, we are up to the armhole steeks. It's just a vest, so no sleeves. So really, I'm really 2/3 done. It's a lovely color work. It looks, as color work patterns go, I would say it's on the simpler side, because, so I would encourage you to try it if you want to try your hand at a garment that, no sleeves, so it'll be done faster. All of these stitch patterns are not more than 6 or 7 stitches repeats, and I mean right to left, and then you have the pattern section and the period pattern in between, and the pattern section, and these are all the same straight ahead. And of course, what's not to love? Shetland jumper weight yarn and 2 strands, going to be very warm and comfortable, and possibly too big because my gauge is bigger than what the pattern calls for, but we'll just deal with it when the time comes. It comes with fond memories of being in Jameson of Shetland's shop and asking the ladies to help me with the colors, and because I had some colors I didn't think worked, so I had to go back and exchange, and they were super helpful to help me with the proper contrast and stuff. Those are not Isolde's colors. I just would have went a different colorway, but it wasn't easy really to get the right ones, to get the right amount of contrast together. So I appreciated them a lot. So good memory and association with that. So that's what I've been working on, and I was able to weave 1 set of towels before Christmas time and sold all but one. So I pulled that out of my drawer. This was woven on my Harrisville 36-inch 4-harness 6 treadle. Actually, I had purchased a 4-harness 4 treadle loom, 36. That loom was 4 treadle to begin with. And I purchased the Harrisville kit to upgrade from 4 treadles to 6. When you're using 4 treadles and 4 harnesses, it's called a direct tie-up, where if your pattern has you wanting to have harness 1 and 3 down, then you have to use 2 feet and press down 1 and 3. And then if you want 2 and 4 down, you switch over and press your 2 feet, 2 and 4. So in a way, it's really good for you. You'll really know your patterns well because you'll be aware of which harnesses are moving every shot. But I had first woven on a 6 treadle, where you have these things called lambs in between your harness and your treadles, and they allow you to like assign two harnesses to 1 treadle, so that if you're doing a 1 and 3 attached to treadle 1, you just press the 1 treadle with the 1 foot, and you have 2 harnesses going down. And then the same for your other 2 harnesses can be assigned or connected to your other 1 treadle. So it really simplifies your footwork while enabling you to do these different complicated combinations of harnesses. So the upgrade was not hard to do. I did it myself. I just took an afternoon, I think, and it was really exciting, actually, because I felt like I really was upgrading my machine, and I totally enjoyed doing these towels on it. This is a twill, 8-2 cotton. Just a simple twill with a stripe, what do you want to say, design. Same as one I did at Marshfield School of Weaving a few summers ago. So I feel like it must be something traditional, or at least it's very simple. And it's a great towel. Oh, so story about my handmade towels. I didn't realize how many over the years that I've done, because I either give them away or sell them. And I mean, if I looked in my notebook, I suppose I might see, but I'm not very good about the notebook. So my mom's kitchen drawer, when we went to take care of her things, had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 of my towels in her drawer, and only a couple other really old, raggy ones that she had kept. And that was really so sweet to think that I knew she loved my towels, but we didn't talk about it much, and I didn't realize that she was really reserving these out. And so I thought I would show you these, and also point that handmade towels last so long. They work hard and they hold up. And if you ever have an opportunity, if you haven't used one, seek out your local weaver, go to your local Weavers Guild or sale, and pick up some hand-woven towels, because they're super. This is one. It's a real shorty. I must have given her a second or a leftover. But I loved these colors. It's kind of faded now. That's showing you how old it is. It looks kind of faded and beat. This is one of my favorites and one of her favorites. This is just a simple, both of these were just plain weave and stripes. It's like a little thread coming. Oh, here we go. And these were just scraps of cotton that I just grabbed off the shelf and thought I liked them together. They sort of looked like summer to me, berries and melon and greens. And this is one that I had done ages ago, which was a special kind of a pattern from Marguerite Davison's weaving book. Love that one. And I forgot what it was called. Anyhow, I just was amazed that all these years they've been doing their thing. This was way back. This is it's called, in the weaving. Learn weave? I can't remember. I'm really rusty in my weaving terms. If any of you weavers out there want to pop me a note. So some sections are like that, and I think the others used to be, but nah, I'm not sure. Anyway, this has held up so well. It's so old. I just can't believe. I'm just amazed. Because I just figured some of these were hand hemmed. This was hand hemmed. It's held up for like 10 years. Honestly. I'm not bragging on myself. I'm bragging on the quality of the materials, and well, I guess the hemming must have been good, but I'll take that. But I love the smell of a clean dish towel. So that's all I've gotten done. I have some rag rugs up on Bertha, and I am ready to plan out my next towel project and get that warped and going. I'm just loving this winter day. I have to show you. Can you see it? The window? I don't know. Oh. All right, back to something. What's next? I think I'll talk about a local farm who I bought some yarn from just this week. My friend Barb and travel buddy to Shetland found this local farm to us in Fort Edward, New York, called Crazy Legs Farm. I think she visited them on a farm tour last fall. They still have these wonderful farm tours in our area. Lots of fiber farms in upstate New York, like between Albany and Saratoga and east to Washington County. And this is some sock yarn from Crazy Legs Farm, Norma. Fingering weight. It is a blend of merino, Romney, and a little bit of nylon. I was thinking I would try and switch to non-nylon sock yarn, like a mohair blend, which I have gotten another skein of something like that. But I saw this yarn that my friend Barb had purchased last fall, and then it's just really soft, but I know it's going to be lovely sock yarn. So I'll probably dye it up. I don't have a plan for the dye color yet, but we'll save that for another, maybe a rainy day in the spring when I get some more of these things done. But I'm just happy to support the local farms, and really happy that it's happening still. People are still raising sheep, and you know, it's been a tough year probably for everybody. But so I was happy to at least buy some yarn from someone local. And, anyway, meanwhile, back at this farm, there's lots of fiber to be spun. But spinning sock yarn, I mean, I thought that these white socks were really going to be fine sock yarn, but they're pretty. I mean, they are, but they're not as thin as I had expected. So live and learn. I've been spinning since my pandemic deep dig into the stash with Ethan's. That was a beautiful Romney, a prize winner. She had a natural color, and her name was Tildy. And I've been spinning Tildy, and I still have like a couple of big bumps of her beautiful fleece. And this is Tildy, and I'm spinning it pretty fine. I would say it's sport, maybe a little fluffy after being washed. And I think I'd like to make a ranunculus sweater with this. It's that yoke sweater with kind of some lace and maybe some baubles even, I don't remember. And a lot of people are making them with mohair. And this has a little bit of a halo. I don't know if you can see it in front of the dark part of the door. See the halo up there? I think this might work for that in a really nice way. I may or may not dye it. I kind of love this color. It's just so naturally. I don't think I will. It's gorgeous. It's sort of a taupey gray. It's not a cool gray, a warm gray. And I've been spinning it on a couple different wheels, and it seems to be pretty consistent. And let's see, I've also been spinning the Shetland gray fleece that I got from the Massachusetts Sheep and Wool Festival years and years ago. Finally, I was so afraid to mess it up that I didn't spin on it much for a long time. But I finally decided to, I found really what it was the processing of it that made me nervous. And I just have been carding it on my Louette carder, which does a lovely job. And here's the singles. It's pretty fine. And this is spun. I don't have it in the hank right now, but I guess I must have started to knit with it or something, tried something. And I don't know, I don't have a plan for this, but it'll appear. Very soft fleece, a beautiful soft Shetland, with quite a variety of color in the locks, but the spinning it, the carding it have blended into this nice heathery gray. And the other spinning adventure I've been on this year, I don't have it in front of me, it's upstairs, but is spinning flax. I was on a real tear in the spring about finding some flax to spin, finding a flax wheel with a distaff on it. And you know, if you're patient with these things, they do turn up. It's amazing. I was able to get a flax wheel from someone locally. I guess it was her grandmother's, and it had a cute little distaff on it in beautiful condition. Only one bobbin, but that's okay. So I got some flax fiber from someone on Etsy. So the first batch of flax fiber I had, I can show you maybe in another episode. Maybe I'll show you the wheel and the spinning and stuff. The first batch was kind of short bits, and I could spin it, but it wasn't what I expected and what I'd read about in reading about the long fibers. And actually what really inspired me to try this was when we were in Norway and we visited a weaver on his farm. And he showed us his weaving, and he also did some spinning for us. And he had two wheels, the wool wheel and his flax wheel. And he was spinning his flax. And he did have the long fibers, the long line fibers. The short ones are called tow, and the long are called line. And it was magical. I was so enthralled by watching him spin the flax and the wool and everything. But so I looked into it some more, and I found some nicer fiber from Andrea in Vermont, she just changed the name of her farm this year. I'll see if I can find that, and I'll put it in the notes or I may put it along in here down below. It's Andrea Mickelbust. Her farm used to be called Black Cat Farm, but she changed it to Mountain Heart. That's it. Mountain Heart, Vermont. And she has I haven't been there yet, but from what I've been seeing, following her, she's opening up a big studio and a big space where she will have classes. She already does some teaching, but I think she'll probably be teaching weaving and spinning and flax growing. Perhaps she's done a lot with the flax. So she had a supply of flax prepared for sale. So I skipped all the work, and thank you, Andrea. And I haven't spun with it yet because I want to finish spinning up all the others that I have. So I'll show you more of that next year. But to inspire me, I have this towel that I purchased in Norway. It's actually from Sweden, I believe. 100% linen. And this is fairly rough. I mean, I think this may have been tow spinning. T-O-W. And it's not getting a lot softer with use, but it's getting a little bit. And I figure I can at least start with something like that. I love it. It's so cool. And this edge this selvage is with this fringy edge. So neat. The other three edges are hemmed. So, they must have just decided to leave this fringy part on the edge of it. Pretty interesting. So I figure if I can get enough to weave up a couple towels, it'd be so cool to know. And then, of course, the next level would be planting a patch of flax this spring. I don't know if I'm up to all that. Planting the flax, the drying, the retting, and then drying again, and all those. It would be really cool just to experience, sort of like the whole wool process, the flax process would be really fun to experience it. But I have to come up with a lot of those tools, or somehow connect with a group that would that maybe has the tools that just for experience sake would let you try it out. We'll see. We'll see when the world opens up again and when we can go out and about to festivals like that or events, workshops, etc. So I hope that things with you are okay. And I look forward to hearing from you if you want to drop a line here on the messages or on Instagram or anywhere, Ravelry or email. I hope the year that you're okay now and that you, can look forward with me to when we get on the other side of this pandemic. And boy, will we appreciate things like never before, huh? Things about getting together just at home, not to mention getting out for events and festivals and travel and music, movies. I mean, there's so many things that we took for granted. I mean, why not? I mean, that was just life. But anyway, I hope you're well or recovering. If not, I just hope that I know I've been really able to. I've enjoyed having the crafty things to do. I've enjoyed, spending time connecting with what my hands are working on to take a break from what's going on all around. And I think it's really good for us to have something like that in these times. So I hope you're able to do that. And one more thing, I just wanted to mention to you that Patricia Fortune of Knitography has been really developing her teaching studio, virtual, this past year. And if you go to her Instagram profile, you can go to her page for her farm shop, excuse me. So she's really expanding into teaching traditional Norwegian knitting techniques and projects and things like the Selbu mittens. And now she's got a kafta class going. That's a sweater class. And two stranded knitting class coming up, I think. Anyway, also she did Selbu socks. So there's a lot going on there. If you're interested in some wonderful instruction with lots of historical background and detail and super support, I would recommend her. I haven't taken the class, but I intend to take one at some point. And I just know from watching her podcasts and knowing her personally that would be a wonderful opportunity for you to learn and grow in your skills. And I want to thank her too publicly here for supporting me and referring to some of my products from Chickenwood soaps. The wool wash that I make, she recommended to her students, and I've heard from some of them, and they've been really happy with it. And also the lotion bar that I make. So I wanted to just show you the wool wash bar that I make. It's a lanolin soap. I put added lanolin in the soap so to help replace some of the lanolin that the washing of the fleece and commercially the stripping of the lanolin happens, So this adds a little bit back to your wool, your yarn, or your project, and comes with this little cloth bag. And it's scented with essential oils to smell like a walk in the woods. There's some pine and a little bit of citrus and rose, and it's a lovely essential oil blend. So I also do the lotion bar. It's a solid lotion bar at room temperature. Comes in a little screw top lid. And it's this little disc that when you put it between your hands, your hand warmth will melt it down a little bit. And then so it's not a lotion at all. It's a solid bar. You soften up the edges and then you put it over your hands. And it's also scented. Oh, it has beeswax in it. It's scented with essential oils, but you also get some of the beeswax scent. Um, let's see, lavender, orange, cedarwood, and frankincense is the blend. And it's made with shea butter, coconut oil, and beeswax. And it's just great to have it with nearby your knitting, especially lately. This time of year, it's been so dry and rough. So I thought I'd just mention those and let you know what they are. And I appreciate Patricia mentioning my things and recommending them to you all. So that's the update from Chickenwood soaps. I'm still making soap. I have several varieties on the shelves, still going out. We're approaching Bertha's room. There are the rag strips in pile. I'm working on splitting this really wide rag in half so that that's, oops, sorry. Here she is, barn frame loom. I don't have a date on her, but I suspect she's probably from 150 years before now. She's got the classic mortise and tenon construction. Pegs and these little wedges are what keep all the parts together. I have these horses. It's a counterbalance. So the pulley and the little horses. And I have her warped with the rug warp. And here's the rug so far with this one set of strips. I have another rug that I did before in a variety of rags. And this is our view, me and Bertha, which is really lovely. We just put her up in here this fall. She was in the cellar in piles on the floor, just a bunch of sticks for the longest time, a couple years, and I just so missed having her. I hated having her collapsed on the floor. These are just my little wheels, a couple of wheels hiding in this room with her. In fact, there's the flax I was spinning. I got started on the flax there. I also did a little flax over here on my super slanty wheel. That's an antique one. And let's see, what have we got? Over in the corner is a Canadian production wheel, a Joe. Behind that is my little Shetland Haldane, which I love dearly. I love them all. I don't love them any more than each other. They're just so great. I'm having them. So anyway, this is Bertha. Down here you can see that, well, you can't really. The rugs are in the way. Those are the treadles, and this is a direct tie-up right now. So I am pressing down all the treadles necessary. There are no lambs that are in the middle turning it, making it like I described before. Yeah, so that's about it. This rug is, let's see. So far I have 21 inches done on this one. I'm probably going to make it it's about 2.5 feet wide. Probably make it by like 4.5. So this is almost half done. And so next thing I have to do is put these strips on the shuttle. And I'll be raring to go. Just want to thank you again for joining me today and let you know that I am LF Dubois on Instagram, Chickenwood Studio on Ravelry, and thanks again for watching, and press the subscribe if you want to hear when the next one comes out. So long. Bye-bye.